Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your president with an important announcement. I'm just kidding. This is Alex again from Dream English. Today we've got a new video for you guys with things, tips, strategies, all the different techniques that you can use to pass your PTE exam. So today I'm going to show you something different, something I haven't done before. Like, we've done hundreds of videos, so there's only so much that we can do to keep it fresh, to keep it new. So I decided to take you guys behind the scenes of what's the feedback that we give the students. And specifically, you will see what are the mistakes that students make in the mock test and how we give them feedback and how we advise them to correct it, so you can make sure you're not repeating the same mistakes in your exam as well. Today, I'm going to show you an actual mock test performance from one of our students. And just for the sake of privacy, we will modify the voice. So obviously, we want to keep it private. We don't want to share the person's information, but you will see everything of what are the mistakes they make. And I will actually be sending that particular student the feedback through WhatsApp. So whenever we teach classes in person, whenever we teach classes online, one of the most important parts of your performance in the real exam is giving mock tests. Usually, our students give minimum 3 to 4, but ideally up to 8 to 10 mock tests before they actually attempt the real exam. So if they're not ready for the mock test or their score is really low, we ask them not to actually book their exam just yet. We tell them to prepare for an extra couple days, for an extra couple weeks, and when we see the mock test score is good enough, then we ask them and we ask you to book your exam. Because what's the point of wasting your money if you're not ready, right? You're spending more than $300 and actually nearly $400 to give your test. So if you're getting 50s and 60s, but you need 79, it doesn't make any sense. So let's get straight into it. Let's actually get started. Now, you can see here from this student in particular, this person got 78 in listening, 71 in reading, 19 speaking, and 87 in writing. So let's say this is one of my students, and let's say this was the real exam score. Obviously, based on the real test, we can't go through it and check your mistakes and see what are the things that went wrong. But based on this, if this was you, for example, and this was your score, the first thing that stands out is repeat sentences were a problem, for sure. Most people struggle with repeat sentences. And if I looked at the listening score is this much lower than the writing score, that means this gentleman or lady lost a lot of marks in repeat sentences. Another possibility is also retell lecture content and summarize spoken text content in listening. So as you can see, even though this person missed in listening, actually the chances are listening itself was not a problem. It's probably speaking that was the problem, because everything is connected. And if I have a look at the reading score, there are a few possibilities. Number one is the read aloud. Number two is the reorder paragraphs. And number three, most likely drag and drop, fill in the blanks, but possibly a combination of all three of those things. So let's get started. And as I'm checking this mock test, and as our teachers check these mock tests, you'll be seeing the kind of feedback we usually send to the students in the class. So let's have a look. Maybe we'll check a few read alouds. Okay. And what you will see, this person, so again, we will modify the voice, so to keep the person's information private.
The diversity of human language may be compared to the diversity of the natural world, just as the demise of plant species reduces genetic diversity and deprives humanity of potential medical and biological resources. So extinction of language takes within a wealth of culture, art, and knowledge. The diversity of human.
So your read aloud fluency for the most part is pretty good. There's a few parts, a few words where you got stuck. Now the reason behind it, probably you didn't prepare properly in the 35 seconds before the recording actually starts. So make sure you're actually preparing. And one other piece of advice, if you made a mistake, don't stop and lose your confidence. You have to make sure you keep going, because towards the end of that read aloud that I'm about to send you, you messed up one of the words, but then you realize you made the mistake and you had a hesitation because of it. So make sure if you mess up, you keep going continuously. So if you look at the next read aloud, this one is actually really, really good. It's 76%. But of course, because sometimes the person may not be speaking loud enough, some of the words are not getting picked up properly. So you have to make sure you're actually speaking loud and you're speaking clear and you're opening your mouth. And if we look over here, we get 95%. So if you get 95% in your read aloud accuracy, you'll be getting the maximum amount of marks that go towards the reading section. What oftentimes happens, and this is what I'm going to say, so just make sure that whenever you're starting your read aloud, you're ready to go from the beginning, because the first 2-3 questions were not that great. And because of that, obviously it's going to affect your reading score. But some of the read alouds you're doing, you're getting 95% or 90%. So that tells me you're capable of doing it, but maybe just a lack of focus, or when you're preparing for 35 seconds, maybe you're not preparing thoroughly enough. Let's have a look at the next suspect, which is repeat sentences, which is most likely the reason why this gentleman is failing in his listening section. So here we got 68% accuracy, 53% accuracy, 64% accuracy, which is a little bit better. Here, 66% accuracy, 75% accuracy, pretty good. Okay, this one is not so good. Okay, so I had a look at your repeat sentences, and a lot of them, the accuracy is pretty low, or you're getting a lot of the words, but you're not getting them in sequence. So obviously that's going to affect not your speaking, but your listening score in particular. How are you taking notes? Are you memorizing or are you taking initials? So my recommendation, if you're not taking initials, practice in that way, or try to write down at least the first part of the sentence. But if you do repeat sentences this way in the exam, I'm afraid it's going to affect your score a lot as well. So you need to really fix those up. And out of these 10 repeat sentences, you only had about 3 to 4, which were pretty good. Let's improve that to 6 or 7. If you do that, your score is going to improve a lot. Okay. For this particular student, the speaking itself was never a problem. So we're not going to spend time checking repeat sentences and retell lectures. And describe images and retell lectures, and the writing itself wasn't a problem either. So let's have a look at the reading section. Now for the reading section, obviously there are practice materials and questions, but sometimes it's hard for students to understand why they're making those mistakes. And if we look so far, out of the first 3 reading and writing fill in the blanks, there's only one mistake. Now remember what I mentioned at the start of the video, because the writing score was so high, reading and writing fill in the blanks are probably not a problem. And as I expected, I was correct. So your drop-down blanks are really, really good. I think you made only 3 mistakes out of all the questions, which is impressive. Make sure you do the same thing in the exam, and make sure you review the prediction file before your test. Just because some of the questions in the test may be a little bit different, so into the prediction file, we keep them up to date. So remind me a week before your exam, I will resend it to you. Now, reorder paragraphs, that's where a lot of people struggle. So same with this gentleman, he made a lot of mistakes over here. I'm having a look at your reorder paragraph. So the first one, you got only 1 pair out of 3. Now this one is actually easy because it's only got 4 sentences, and there's a lot of clues that you can use. So you got the first sentence, which is the independent sentence, which you did very good. But the first pair you should be looking for is the easiest pair. Now, what is that easiest pair? It's similarly, right? So you're able to manage to find that those 2 sentences had a similar idea, but it doesn't make sense in the logic here that they only tell me the good things at the end and the bad thing first, right? So you need to make sure you're always rereading it like a story start to finish to make sure it makes sense. Because first I will tell you, I got a promotion and I bought a new car, but the only bad thing is I lost my wallet, right? So you need to think of it logically like a story. And same thing with the second reorder, you only got 1 mark out of 3. So I think you were misunderstanding when they refer to them as these tools, right? Accounts receivables are not tools, right? So you need to make sure that you understand that these tools or this enables, you have to figure out what are they referring to in this situation. Okay. And the last reorder, again, you only got 1 pair out of 3. So make sure you fix those up, make sure you revise them, and make sure you again go through the prediction file, because typically out of the prediction file, you get at least 1 or 2 reorders repeated. onto drag and drop fill in the blanks. Now, drag and drop fill in the blanks. So in this particular question, if you look at the first drag and drop fill in the blank, in the first sentence it says indifference or blank. Now remember the grammar tricks, the shortcuts I taught you in the class. Before and after the word or, you need similar things. Indifference and happiness are not similar at all. Now, I can understand that you probably didn't know the meaning of the word derision, which is fine, but you can at least try to eliminate the word happiness because logically here it doesn't make any sense. And same thing in the second one, you have the word excited of. Excited of. So remember the list of verbs and prepositions I gave you guys that you had to study? Excited and of don't go together. You're excited for something or you're excited about something. So you need to make sure the verb and preposition are the right combination in this question. And again, this is what they'll be testing in these questions oftentimes. Your knowledge of collocations, your knowledge of verbs and prepositions. So let's keep going. For the others, it's actually pretty good. So the rest of your reading was actually really, really good. So I'm impressed with the progress. You need to make sure you're fixing up reorder paragraphs. So remember I sent you the list of all the questions with the correct sequence? There's about 200 of them. You need to make sure you read all of them one time from start to finish in the correct sequence. So this way, when you see the same question, you can remember and you can understand the logic. And let's have a look at summarized spoken text, which is the third suspect. So I finished checking your whole mock test. Obviously, I didn't send you the feedback for describe, image, and retell lecture because you did good in those 2 questions last time as well. Same thing with your writing. But just as I was suspecting, and just like I mentioned last time, you're losing a lot of marks in your read aloud. So remember, more than 30% of your reading comes from read aloud alone. And you do. So you need to make sure you're practicing on that website I told you, and you're always able to get minimum 75% accuracy. But you need to fix that up. And maybe for the time being, slow down a little bit and send me some audios. When we see the accuracy improves, then we will increase the speed again. And for repeat sentences, the same thing as I told you, you need to change the way either you're taking notes or memorizing. And reorder paragraphs, I will send you that file. But look, overall, it's a really, really impressive mock test. So you should be giving your exam within 7 to 10 days maximum. Now, for you guys watching this video, obviously I didn't check all the questions for this particular student because, as I mentioned, he has done 4 mock tests previously, so I have an idea of where he's lacking. But for you guys as well, you get a rough idea and explanation of what are the things that, let's say you're doing a mock test by yourself, what are the things that you can actually look for yourself. And one thing you'll notice, I didn't spend time checking MCQs for reading or for listening. So I was only focusing on the tasks that give the most marks. And here in particular, read aloud, repeat sentences, and reorder paragraphs. This is the difference for this particular student between getting 79 plus or missing in 1 or 2 sections by a few marks. So if this was helpful, leave a comment right now. If you like the mock test, you will find some links in the description and in the comments of where you can try your own. So this is it for this video, guys. It means a lot to us and to our team. If you click like right now and you click subscribe, this is how we know that this video was valuable, that it helped you, and especially your comments. I personally read every single comment and reply to as many as I can. And the best news is whenever we share free tips and advice and it works for you and you get your score and we get good news. So as a teacher, for myself, for Sumesh, for Shan, and all the teachers on our team, this is the best, seeing people get their scores, get their acceptances, get their registrations and their PR. So leave a comment, like, and I'll see you in the next video.